Many of you know that I was raised Roman Catholic. And there was a lot growing up that I didn't understand about the church. But one of the things that I really didn't understand was the purpose of cloistered nuns and monks. I thought, if you're called to serve, why aren't you out serving? I thought, if you're called to serve the world, why are you shutting yourself off from it? Now, of course, the cloistered life is not unique to Catholicism. We know that there are Hindu swamis who live hidden in caves. We know that there are Buddhist monks who retreat up to the mountaintops to retreat away from the world at large so that they can devote their lives to prayer. I'm sure some of you have seen images of Buddhist monks creating these beautiful, colorful mandalas that are made out of tiny grains of sand. It takes them hours, even days, to complete, and then they immediately destroy their creation. And it is to teach non-attachment and the impermanence of life. But I used to think to myself, in the hours and days it took you to create that work of sand, you could have been building homes for the homeless. You could have been preparing meals for those people who are starving. Jesus said, when I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. When I was sick and imprisoned, you came and visited me. Jesus didn't say, when I was hungry, you lit a candle for me. When I was thirsty, you sang a song for me. And when I was sick and imprisoned, you sent me your thoughts and prayers. This is why people lately have been fed up with the call to prayer being the pat response for every tragedy that happens in the world. We see that hashtag, pray for Newtown, pray for Paris, pray for Orlando. And people are tired of hearing from politicians and religious leaders, we hold the people of Orlando in our thoughts and prayers. We light candles, we hold hands, we sing songs, and it makes us feel good, but it is not enough. Jesus is calling us to be people of action, to be sacred activists. Change does not happen solely through prayer. It also requires action. Most of us do not think of spirituality as something active. You know, when we go to the doctor for a checkup, the doctor asks, are you physically active? They may ask, are you sexually active? But no one ever asks us, are you spiritually active? Spirituality is not a passive thing. It requires action. So I've been focused on this phrase, spiritually active. And I thought, surely someone must have trademarked that phrase or written a book called Spiritually Active, but they haven't. And so guess what? I registered the domain name spirituallyactive.com. It belongs to us. And I want us at Douglas UCC to be people who are spiritually active. Of course, we are called to be people of prayer, but we're also called to be people of action. Now, our words of integration this morning, which Eric read for us, came from the best-selling spiritual writer Richard Rohr. Those of you who are coming with us to New Mexico in the fall, you're going to get to meet Richard Rohr, and we are going to tour his center that he founded there. And the name of his center is the Center for Action and Contemplation. Action and contemplation. And their mission statement says, action and contemplation used to be thought of as mutually exclusive. but we need to bring them together or neither one of them makes sense. Richard Rohr says that a contemplative mind is what's needed so that we can take compassionate action. That's why we pray, so that we can take action. And when we take action, we need to be people of prayer. Both of them are together. They're not mutually exclusive. So let's look at both of them. Let's start with action. We know that God is an action word. God is not a noun, not a person. God is a verb, an action. I shared in our weekly newsletter this week a quote from Victor Hugo, who said, in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was a verb, and that verb was God. God is active. When we pray, what we're doing is we are aligning ourselves with the verb. Most of us growing up, we thought prayer was talking to the noun and asking the noun to take action on our behalf. But now we know there is no noun. It's a verb. It's that loving, creating, moving energy. So, in the beginning was the Word. We hear that in the Bible. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So what was the Word? Well, obviously at the beginning of creation, there wasn't language. There wasn't an alphabet. The Word wasn't letters on a page in a book. The Word was the verb, the action, the Big Bang. It was that vibratory energy, that creative and creating vibration. When we pray, we are not asking the noun to take action for us. We are aligning ourselves with the verb, with the action, so that we become one with it. That's why Jesus said, I and the Father are one. That I am merging with this creative, creating, loving energy. The action, the verb. That's what I'm doing. Jesus was a man of prayer, but he was also a man of action. So if you notice in the Gospels, before Jesus took action, he always went off by himself to pray. He went out into the desert, or he went up to a mountaintop alone, so that he could align himself with that God power, that activity, that energy, that movement, and become one with it. And that's why it says that Jesus was the Word, the verb, made flesh. The Word made flesh. And we are called to be that as well. Now, in today's gospel, Jesus calls people to movement. He says, follow me. He doesn't say, stay there, sit down, pray and worship me. He says, take action, follow me. And you see the people have excuses. Well, Lord, I will follow you, but first I have to take care of business at home. Egocentric. Me, my world, my immediate family. Jesus would later say, anybody who wants to follow me must leave behind mother, father, sister, brother. Because Jesus wanted us to understand that everybody is mother, father, sister, brother. The people who are still in the first half of life, like Richard Rohr says, it's just about me and my world. Jesus is saying, this is your family. You're all one. The people who were people of great peace, the peacemakers of the world, they understood this. And because they understood that everybody is my sister and brother, they took action to make sure everybody was invited to the table. They weren't people who solely sat there and did nothing. Passive, peaceful people. Again, when we think of a peaceful person, we may think of someone sitting in the lotus position chanting Om, living in a cave or a mountaintop. But the people who changed the world were the people who took action. Now, at the vigil for Orlando in Saugatuck last week, I shared a quote from a Christian writer whose name is Marie Eckhart, and she said this: Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Oscar Romero, Cesar Chavez, these were not passive people. They weren't people who only said nice things so as to not hurt other people's feelings. They weren't people who looked the other way when injustice was done to themselves or to others. They were not weak. Like Jesus, they used their God-given voices to move people forward towards something new and more inclusive. And each one of them changed the world we live in. These peacemakers were people of action, but they were also people of contemplation. Now, how do we know that? Because they had the gifts of the Spirit that we heard about in our reading from Galatians this morning. Yes, they took to the streets and protested and spoke out for change, but they exuded those gifts of the Spirit: love, peace, joy, patience, kindness, and self-control. I want you to remember that this election season, because you will hear a lot of voices talking about how they're going to take action and make changes. But as you watch them speak, think to yourself, does this person exude the gifts of the Spirit? Kindness, gentleness, self-control? Or do they embody the qualities we also heard in Galatians, which are of the flesh, which is enmity, strife, anger, jealousy, and discord? That's how you will know. Someone taking action without contemplation has an us versus them mentality for change. A true activist is a person of contemplation and action. And what they do is, it's not us versus them. They see everyone as one. And they want what is good for one, for everybody to have. The oneness. So, that brings me back to those nuns and Buddhist monks. Those people are people of contemplation, but what I've discovered is that those people are people of action. They are activists, because what they are doing is they have devoted their lives to activating the light, to aligning themselves with that God energy. And that has tremendous power to transform the world. Even though they have removed themselves from the world, they are changing the world. Now, we in this room are not nuns and monks. We live in the world. And so our role is to take action. So for you, I'm asking, what is it that we will do to affect change, to be activists? Well, we can light candles and sing songs and hold hands and say prayers. We do that every single Sunday here, and it's important, but it's not enough. if we're going to call ourselves spiritual activists. To be spiritually active is not just 1 hour on Sunday morning, leaving here feeling good. To be spiritually active means that each and every day I am working to be an instrument of peace and change in the world. So let us go forth and be people who are spiritually active, because the world needs us so badly right now. Let us go and be instruments of peace and instruments of light. Namaste.